Hi, Mark.
Hi, Mark. I know you're joining us remotely.
Yeah, yeah. I wish I could. Thank you
We
for.
are still forum.
I'm sorry.
So we have some members here, but we're still waiting on our forum before we begin. I
Okay.
just wanted to let you know.
Yeah. Thanks for letting me know.
At 11 p.m., I would like to call this meeting of the 16th Advisory Committee to the Santa Clara Valley Open Space Authority to order. I would like to next turn it over to Caroline for roll call. Please do remember when you hear your name, turn your mic on. Yes, you're here. Turn your mic off. Thank you.
Aaron Gill, not present. Frank Kinsella, not present. Robert Sibbel,
Present.
Lauren Lewis,
Present.
Raymond Mueller,
To begin mounting in 5 minutes. You don't know the story about Megan and Limelight? Great, please.
Justin Fields,
Present.
Dan Kenny,
Present.
Kathy Sutherland, present. Steve Mink, not present. Michael Wong, not present. Mara Burton, present. Peter Pham, not present. Edward Von Rennet,
Present.
and we have a quorum.
Thank you, everybody. Now is the time for public comments. If you have some, you will have 3 minutes. Do we have any speakers, Caroline?
There are none.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Next order of business is the approval of minutes. Because we did not have a quorum last time, we have 2 sets. I would like to start first. I will entertain a motion for the approval of the July 25th minutes. Thank you so much, Ray. Thank you so much. I have a motion and a second. Please do take the vote. Remember about the mics, please. Oh, Caroline, I don't think we need a roll call vote. I think we can do a show of hands unless we need a roll call for
Still roll call.
for the Zoom. Okay.
Yes.
So we will do a roll call vote again about the mics. Thank you.
Can you, who was the motion and the second?
Motion. Second. Robert was actually the official second. Is that right? Oh, okay. Oh, my bad. My bad.
Robert Sibbel,
Yes.
Lauren Lewis,
Yes.
Ray Mueller,
Aye.
Justin Fields,
Aye.
Dan Kenny,
Aye.
Kathy Sutherland, Mara Burton, and Edward Von Rennet.
Aye. Carries unanimously. Moving right along, I will entertain a motion for the approval of the September 26th minutes. So moved. Thank you, Justin and Dan. So Caroline, we have a first from Justin and a second from Dan, and now a roll call vote.
Robert Sibbel,
Aye.
Lauren Lewis,
Aye.
Raymond Mueller,
Aye.
Justin Fields,
Aye.
Dan Kenny, Kathy Sutherland, Mara Burton, Edward Von Rennet.
Aye. Okay, the approval of the September 26th minutes is passed. Next order of business is the chairperson's opening report. Just wanted to, well, first off, you know, as I was bragging to Justin about running with his cows, you know, and I've told you guys numerous times, I've spent a lot of time in our properties. I feel very fortunate to be able to do so. I've recently noticed all the signage regarding inclusivity and all being welcome. I do want to stress here that you know, all are welcome here, which includes all viewpoints. If the authority, staff, or the board enlists our opinion on something, I want to make sure everybody feels comfortable giving that opinion. even if it seems a bit upstream of, the prevailing discussion. So please, again, if we're asked for our input, please do give what is regarded as your expert opinion, whatever that may be. And with that, we will continue on to committee business. First, on the docket is Mark Landgraf. He's going to give us an informational item presentation on Open Space Authority summary of 2022 programs and projects.
You brought up diversity. I'd like to bring up the fact that we're a bunch of old white men in CAC. We try to look whatever we're doing that type of way. Saying with controlling and they need to really actively recruit more people.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
That's what we're here for.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mark.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, evening. I'm hearing a delayed echo of the meeting, like everything is being broadcast twice with a several seconds delay. But as long as you can hear me okay, that'll be fine.
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
Okay, thanks. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So you're not hearing me repeating myself, right?
No.
Okay. Okay, this is going to be wild.
You can, if you need to, Mark, you can.
Okay, no, that's I'm good. So what I wanted to do tonight, at the suggestion of our chair and vice chair, is give an overview of the amazing accomplishments by the Open Space Authority and CAC and board in the past year, because this is our last meeting of the year, so it's a good time to view what's taking place. And will be a year review report coming out early next year that you'll see in your email inboxes. So I don't want to steal the thunder of the details in those. So I'm going to review things at a fairly high level. I'm going to go through.
Sorry to interrupt you. It's a little soft. Would you mind speaking just a little bit?
I'm sorry. Is it hard to hear?
It is.
Is that better?
I think so.
Because this one's mine, so it should be, and it's plugged into the Ethernet.
Okay. So if that's better, then I'll just I can just continue.
Yes, go ahead, Mark.
Okay, thanks. And now I don't hear the echo, so I don't know. Okay. Scratch that goes there. But anyway, I'll just continue. So please feel free to accumulate questions. If there are immediate questions, that's fine. But if possible, I'd ask you to save the question. I'm happy to go back to earlier slides as we close the presentation. But so starting with acquisitions, there was an 80-acre property near Yuba Canyon County Park. It was donated by the Bay family, and there are rich riparian habitat areas and potential amphibians, beautiful redwoods, which we don't have a lot of on our OSA properties. And this provides a great opportunity for future regional trail connectivity. Another property is the 1-acre Tiegelman property that was very recently closed. Fills a gap in the Rancho Cañada del Oro Preserve that's comprised mostly of woodland, bay trees, grasses and ferns, lots of coverage for wildlife. So it's an important property to have us filled in. In addition, Post, our partners at Peninsula Open Space Trust, acquired 30.5 acres in Coyote Valley for the total now protected land in the valley of over 1,500 acres. Hello?
Sorry to interrupt you again, but maybe it might help if you turn off your camera.
Okay.
I think it's a connection issue.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Is that clear?
Continue talking.
Okay. Let me go back to my slides here.
Yes, that's better.
Great.
Thank
All right.
you.
No, thank you. So those are the acquisitions for 2022. I wanted to move on to some of the stewardship projects. Starting with a project at Fisher Creek, restore habitat with a large group of second graders who planted over 50 native plants, with much more to come. There was a wetland cleanup at Spreckles, at the base of Spreckles Hill, and that project made significant progress, allowing more water to stay in the wetland during dry conditions and moving invasive plants and really quite a bit of lift. Burrowing Owl Reserve was established in Coyote Valley, 100 acres where breeding owls will be introduced. There was a beginning of a establishment of a monarch habitat area in mid-Coyote Valley. That restoration project provides includes wildlife-friendly fencing to keep out cattle and installation of irrigation systems. There was also separately a fencing project at Kite Ridge, which has a new name. I'll talk more about that a little bit later. But that project replaced over 7 miles of fencing with fencing that keeps cattle out, does not snag animals over or under. That's why it's known as wildlife-friendly fencing. A well was installed at Coyote Ridge, and that allows us to continue conservation grazing that reduces wildfire risk and keeps cattle away from the natural pond that supports native plants and animals. The fuels management program led by our natural resources team made significant progress with mapping, assessing fire risk, and areas to prioritize for fuels reduction. The integrated pest management program expanded mapping and tracking capacity, including by leveraging help volunteers and through some early detection and rapid response methods, keeping invasive plants at bay. There were also staffing changes at the authority in this area. We hired our natural resources manager, Aaron Ibert, our first natural resources manager, and also saw Polly Basson's departure after several years with the authority. She left for a planning job at the Peninsula Open Space District, so she's part of it. Moving on to public access at Coyote Ridge. As I believe many of you would know, it was reviewed in a prior meeting with you here at the CAC and approved recently by our board. The name is expanded to Mayan Oyakma Coyote Ridge Open Space Preserve to honor the Muwekma Ohlone Native Americans that were involved in the project that represents a direct translation of Coyote Ridge. The other public access news for Coyote Ridge is that construction is well underway. I don't know if you've driven by it on Alec Road, but it's making big progress since the groundbreaking in September. And we expect to finish next spring with grand opening next fall. So there will be at least some limited public access in the spring. We're all looking forward to that. During the design phase of Heidi Ridge project, planning team worked with the Waccamaw Bologna to develop educational interpretive content for visitors, and of course work closely with the tribe on that joint naming, as I mentioned earlier. Visitors, once the trails are open, will be able to climb from Malik Road nearly 1,400 feet through grasslands up to the ridge line for sweeping views of Central Valley and spring wildflowers. We really appreciate the CAC involvement in that planning effort. There was a field trip time ago, and all of the inputs were very well received and important part. So moving on to Rancho Quebrada del Oro, the Open Space Authority has initiated permitting through the California Department of Fish and Wildlife and Regional Water Quality Control Board, proposed bridge over Yagas Creek to be constructed as part of a new accessible loop trail and day use area. The project is partially funded through a grant from the California Department of Parks and Recreation. At Coyote Valley Open Space Preserve, the staff have been consulting with interested tribes to participate in archaeological testing at the site, as well as having initiated environmental review under CEQA, the California Environmental Act, for proposed improvements to the preserve entryway and the Hearts Delight Trail. Under our JEDIA program, the Justice, Equity, Diversity, Inclusion, and Accessibility program, a number of achievements have been made in 2022. Monica Villariano, who you see here in the picture, provided a translation of the Mayan, or saying that right, for Ridge Open Space Preserve at the October 27th board meeting that was approved. We have also provided translated signs, as you see here on the right, for our preserves, welcoming everyone and calling for mutual respect of trail users. The year in review that I mentioned earlier at the beginning of this year, of 2022, was translated, as were a number of the Coyote Valley Master Planning materials. More on this is to come as we develop our internal system to consistently support translations. As we increase our translations, want to let you know that we also hired consultants to help us with further translated materials to Spanish and Vietnamese, generally expand our capacity in that area. In terms of equitable access for our public meetings, so even as we come back to in-person meetings, our board meetings and CAC meetings will remain hybrid with closed captioning available to maintain that equitable access. We've made improvements in our hiring practices, further expanding through posting on online job boards when we post for new positions. And then the ongoing staff working group is continuing to expand our support of the diversity of cultures that we have in our region. And we'll continue working on further improvements. The Coyote Valley Conservation Areas Master Planning is now well underway by a team of consultants and with them subcontractors to get this massive master planning project under. Nick Perry, our Coyote Valley project manager, is leading the effort. And so far, existing conditions assessments and inventories of ecological and cultural values of the area have begun and will be completed next year. A community engagement plan has been completed and early community engagement is underway. And as more people become aware of the authority and Coyote Valley, our mailing list for master planning continues to grow. For agriculture, we continue to support agriculture in our county by protecting farm and ranch land and through the support of county agricultural policies as we develop a long-term vision for agricultural support at the agency. So Spina Farms that hopefully you're all familiar with, it was a pumpkin smashing success this year. But for the first time, it was actually hosted on Open Space Authority's newly protected Laguna 60 property. We were really excited to support this important community destination that was accessible to families of all walks with no entrance or parking fee during the week. Also allowed us to build awareness about our work by having an OSA booth there on the weekends. You can see in the picture on the right here. At the Pajaro River Agricultural Preserve, organic farming on the northern portion of the property continues as the southern portion undergoes transition to organic farming. Riparian corridors along the edge of the River Preserve are being enhanced with native second restoration phase on the property. Planning is underway for reconnecting the river to its floodplain to benefit wetland ecology as well as flood risk reduction for downstream communities. For the Sustainable Ag Lands Conservation Program, an application was submitted for about $1.4 million towards a conservation easement on 79 acres of farmland in San Martin, adjacent to the Front Toyota Road property that was protected a few 12 years ago. We're working on building awareness in a number of ways. The Authority has achieved its District of Distinction accreditation from the Special District Leadership Foundation. And I really want to call this out. The accreditation shows our many stakeholders that we have sound fiscal management and governance policies, practices in place to effectively operate and govern the district transparently. It also required educational training for our board and executive team. That accreditation is good for 3 years. Our social media reach continues to grow, building off the tarantula mating video from last year that went viral. In this year, and not over yet, our social media posts reached over 3 million users. Given the educational messages about nature's that are embedded in our visually attractive posts, we're contributing a lot to people's appreciation for the work we and our partners doing. And we expanded our community connections and spotlights on staff members in our blog post. Luis Gaitan, featured here in the picture, was one of our community connections highlights. And both of these features remind readers that they're human beings behind the public agency and that we all speak about the land, what it brings to each of us in ways. 83 events over the course of the year took place. It's a lot. It's a large number of events. And they included over 2,000 participants. There was an Earth Day celebration at Spreckles Hill, several guided hikes at Allen Rock Park in honor of their 150th anniversary, and a summer school program with a San Martin Elementary School. Also continued offering virtual programs this year, saw a total of 400 attendees. And one of the most notable events this year was Starry Nights, which actually draws so many participants and continues to be really successful. With the volunteer work, over 800 hours were contributed. Projects that they worked on included land stewards, protecting and maintaining our trails. Our volunteers removed nearly 4,000 square invasive species from the Furtado Barn. And Trail Patrol volunteers completed over 230 different patrols on our trails. Under community outreach, we really appreciated the CAC's involvement in the boothing that took place. After a 2.5-year absence, we were really happy to be back doing booths and tables at public events so that we can spread the word about the work that we're doing and let people sign up for our newsletter and for master plan information. Under grants, the Urban Grants Program had revised its guidelines that were recently approved by the board and also received input from the CAC. We appreciate that engagement, and the solicitation is currently open. with two different areas being funded, one for programs and planning projects that allow streamlining of the programs for the applicants, makes it easier for them. The amount available this year is 1.5 million, and the applications are due February of next year, but we're suspected in July. And of course, the CAC will be participating next year in review of the capital and planning project applications. In terms of grants received, I think it's really helpful to have this all in place, because it's really impressive that our grants team was able to bring in $24 million in funding, primarily from California state agencies. All of that has been awarded and is at various stages of the process of finalizing details. Another 20 million in funding has been applied for, and these funds go towards acquisition projects, restoration projects, and public access projects primarily. Under conservation initiatives, and I'm going to keep this really short because the third item on tonight's agenda goes into our policy items in a little bit more detail, but just to mention that there was a really valuable climate study tour that staff from the Open Space Authority were able to join other members of a California delegation in France in July. And there was a presentation earlier about the outcomes of that, and many conversations are going on to apply learnings from the study tour. Also, we continue to pursue federal and state funding for climate actions here in our jurisdiction, and are working on cross-sector policy improvements, such as where the intersection of housing and conservation allow opportunities to improve processes that help to advance both. So with that, I'm going to take a pause and allow for questions if anybody has it.
Thank you, Mark. If you're here in the room and you have something to say, throw up a hand. I'll give you a nod. I will make a list. Please don't turn on your mic until you are formally recognized. I see Ray with his hand up, and I see you too, Steve. Ray, please do go ahead.
First of all, thank you very much for the report. There's a lot of good information. I do have a lot of questions, actually. Regarding the social media, you said there were 3 million hits. You have the age and race demographics on those hits? Do you have a diversity report on those hits, or is it just 3 million people we're looking at as fighters?
I'm happy to answer that.
Thank you.
Through our social media, we are able to look up certain demographics, so that's something that we could certainly look into, report back on what information is available.
I think it would be useful for us.
Thanks, Sean.
I was going to ask if we had to get a way to set up, or assume that they did. The next question was regarding grants. It was said that you had $24 million in grants came in. How much of that money was spent north of this building? I mean, it's 5, and we don't have a lot of space except for Tower Park. But I would like to understand where all that money is. If all that money is going south of this building, or is any of it going to our city?
And Andrea, go ahead.
Do you want us to send something around to the CAC with those details?
I think it would be useful for us to understand where the money goes.
Sure. The majority of that money is for land acquisition. We also got a lot of money for Coyote Ridge for restoration, fence removal, and putting in new cattle troughs making the water system more sustainable up there. And of course, we have the grants that we gave out to through our urban grant, which all goes to the cities into the urban.
I brought it up because specifically there is in fact an open space on White Road. It's a golf course near the big Cunningham Park. So like the Cunningham facility that they're trying to now turn into housing. They're trying to develop the entire thing. So there's hundreds of Jamaicans sitting there north of this building where kids in my neighborhood teach what to get to that for the development of the last thing I wanted to ask was regarding volunteer hours. It said that there were about 10 volunteer hours per event, 800 volunteer hours, 80 events. Is that accurate? Yes, I mean, 80 events. There's 10 volunteers.
To the chair, I will check with our volunteer administrator and get an answer for you.
Okay.
Steve, go ahead.
Thanks. I'm live. Sorry I was late tonight. I was dressed and ready to go, sitting in front of my computer with the Zoom number. Mark, you covered agriculture, and you talked about Pajaro River Project or Pajaro River Agricultural Preserve. Now I'm biased, but we got a great, I think, addition or project or partnership. ELSA this year has been Gilroy Beekeepers Association, special permit to put an apiary out there for agricultural purposes. We've had about 8 classes so far, probably about 15 people in each one of those classes, people learning about pollination and bees, and not just honeybees, but all the pollinators out there, and how they can improve the productivity of the gardens that they have. I was particularly caught my ear was the restoration over by the river. If I would have gone to Gabby, who should I contact if I wanted to get a list of the plants that are going into that restoration area? Because that's going to solve I think it's going to solve a large problem for us. We didn't realize. I'm a suburban kid. I did not realize that you put bees in a monoculture agriculture environment, and when the field is tilled, there's no flowers. So we can go from flowers walk down to no flowers for miles and miles. So I'm fascinated to find out what the native plants are that helps the.
Sure, through the
So-
chair, I'd be happy to check with our natural resources technician to get that information for you.
Yeah, I just looking for a list and the number of plants of each, and because then we can map that to what time of year they flower. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you for the question, and thank you, Lee, for responding.
Hi, Mark, this is Mara. I have a question regarding the Corey Redwoods and those 80 acres. What are the plans for that? Or is that going to be open to the public? And if so, will that include campgrounds for families?
I can answer that. So through the chair, the Croy Redwoods, we first accepted a donation, which was the Croy Redwoods, and then recently the board approved additional acres that are being added to that. So now it totals about 120 acres. So we plan to open that up for guided tours. We can certainly take families out there. We have to put it kind of on our to-do list to get that going programmatically. But I would say because of its remoteness, it's not going to become a open to the public kind of preserve, at least anytime soon. But certainly because we have so few redwoods in our jurisdiction, it's really important that we get the public out there and start doing some programming in this next year. So thanks for your interest.
Any other questions? And while you have a chance to think about it, Mark, do you have any anything you wanted to say you're not here in the room, so other people were answering the questions. If there was anything you wanted to say about things that were asked, now's your big chance.
No, thank you very much for asking. I really appreciate others chiming in with their respective areas of expertise. I don't have anything. And it's just, it's also very difficult for me to hear the questions with getting repeated several seconds later. So I'm not even sure what the questions are, to be honest. But anyway, thank you for everybody in the room that are answering questions.
So Mark, on that note, you have an item upcoming on the agenda after Charlotte. Would you be so kind as to use that time to call in so that you could do audio over the phone next time? I think it would potentially address not only the choppy audio we're getting on this end, but also the echo you're getting on your end, potentially.
Sure, I can do that.
Through the chair. We have two choices, and Mark, I don't know if you can hear me, but one, I'm leaning toward pulling item number 3 and bringing it back to the CAC at their first meeting in 2023, because that's what we're talking about is 2023 priorities for legislation. So we can have the benefit of you in the room. It's really pretty difficult to hear. And so that's kind of what I'm leaning toward. But if you strongly feel like you want to call in and try it, then we'll at least give it a try. But our next item is going to be Charlotte. She's here in person. We'll definitely be able to hear her. But then let's revisit maybe after Charlotte's finished.
If there's no, in terms of, public notification and whatnot, if there's no procedural objection, I certainly don't have a personal one.
Not for preliminary.
That's fine. That's fine with me. I appreciate this. Yeah. I can be there for that meeting.
This one? Okay. It was on my list to not forget this time. So any last words, Mark? And you promised to come see us in January.
Just thank you for your patience.
Yeah. Oh, certainly. And now it's time for public comment on this item. If you have any, don't go anywhere yet. If you have any, you'll have 3 minutes for them. Do we have any online? Any here in the room? Last call. And thank you. Next item for committee business is an information item from Charlotte Graham about the 30th anniversary celebration overview.
Good evening. Can everyone hear me okay without me crouching over the mic? Because I can hold it up if that's better. Okay. It's great to be here in person and to see all of you. My name is Charlotte Graham and I'm the Public Information Officer for the Open Space Authority. And tonight I'm excited to provide an overview about our 30th anniversary, which is happening next year in 2023. I did present this item to the Board of Directors. So Director Chapman, some of this will sound very familiar. And I did want to note that I updated some of the information in this presentation to include some of the public comments that we received during that meeting. So those are included here. So the theme for the Open Space Authority's 30th anniversary year is 30 years protecting nature together forever. So some of you might remember that in 2018, the Open Space Authority celebrated our 25th anniversary. Some of you may have been engaged in those activities, but we have seen some pretty huge successes in the last 5 years that are well worth celebrating, including the permanent protection of nearly 1,000 acres in Coyote Valley in 2019. In that same year, the passing of Assembly Bill 948, Coyote Valley Conservation Program, which designated Coyote Valley as a landscape of statewide significance. In 2020, there was the acquisition of the Tilton Ranch with our partners at Peninsula Open Space Trust and the Santa Clara Valley Habitat Agency. And of course, that same year, there was the passing of Measure T with 81% of the vote, which made Measure Q permanent, and it placed it among the top 10 conservation tax measures nationwide in the past 30 years. And then in 2021 alone, The Open Space Authority received multiple funding awards totaling over $16 million from the state of California for the protection of North Coyote Valley. San Jose City Council voted unanimously to approve zoning changes to Coyote Valley to protect it from urban sprawl. The Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors also voted unanimously to strengthen protections for Coyote Valley's natural and working lands through amendments to the county's general plan, zoning ordinance, and zoning map. And these combined actions really speak to how far we have come as a community in prioritizing Coyote Valley for agriculture, open space, and the protection of natural resources over sprawl development. So while we realize there is a lot more to celebrate from this year and into next, we're also keeping in mind that this 30-year milestone is not just about us. We feel that this is an important time to honor those who have contributed to the open space efforts over the years, connect with new constituents, as well as devoted open space enthusiasts across our jurisdiction, and especially as we see growing concern about climate change, we want to make sure that we are providing public education about nature as infrastructure and nature-based solutions to climate change. So here are a few of the top goals that guide our upcoming 30th anniversary promotions, events, and educational outreach, which includes building awareness of the Open Space Authority and our work by providing opportunities for constituents to engage with current and future projects and programs. We also aim to reach new audiences while celebrating notable contributors to the agency over the years, whether they be individuals or partner agencies, and of course, celebrating the amazing places that we've all worked so hard and continue to work hard to protect for the benefit of everyone and future generations. And of course, as we educate about open spaces and agriculture, we talk about how caring for nature cares for us, and it creates more resilience in a changing climate. And finally, we hope to strengthen existing partnerships while continuing to build new ones, and doing so in a way that advances our mission of connecting people to nature. In spreading the message that nature is for everyone, we hope to make everyone feel welcome and that they belong at open space preserves and events. And to accomplish these goals, we are asking for everyone's help. And one of the reasons that I'm really excited to be here tonight is that I'm asking for your help. Definitely want to hear your questions, feedback, things that you're excited about in 2023 that you might recommend or suggest for the Open Space Authority to keep in mind. But our 30th anniversary festivities are kicking off in January 2023. We'll be doing a press release. We'll be launching our 30th anniversary logo, which you can see in the corner. We'll have a special landing page on our website that specifically addresses what's happening throughout the year and how folks can get connected. We'll have a brand new branded template for the Open Space Authority's e-newsletters and a whole string of 30th anniversary promotions, which I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. So I won't go too much into this tonight, but we do have some commemorative items as well that will be available throughout the year. Things like limited edition sunglasses and stickers, vintage style posters and postcards. So we're very excited about those. And these items will be used during social media contests and during educational events and outreach. So throughout our 30th anniversary, the Open Space Authority will focus on the following content themes, including climate resilience. We will celebrate native wildlife and the work that we do to protect biodiversity and connectivity in Santa Clara Valley, local agriculture, land stewardship, and open space access for all. These messages and stories will be featured in the Open Space Authority's blog, monthly newsletter, and social media platforms, including a short series of advertorial videos that'll link people to more information about different projects, programs, and preserves on the website. So as we share these out, we ask for your help. We ask for everyone's help in amplifying these stories, whether it's tagging a friend on social media, forwarding the newsletter, or forwarding a blog post article to somebody who you think might enjoy reading it. So now I'm going to talk a little bit more about our promotions. And in addition to the digital media updates that I mentioned earlier, the Open Space Authority will run a series of digital ads. We'll do media pitching for events, acquisitions, and other exciting announcements using new traditional and ethnic media. We'll host most monthly virtual and in-person nature and outdoor events and volunteer activities. And we're also planning to participate in outreach opportunities across Santa Clara Valley that we're going to ask for your help with. So this includes one of our most impactful ways to reach local residents, which is tabling, hosting booths at different community events in your districts. And I actually have a few that I can share with you right now, but there are many more opportunities to come. So just a few examples which were sent to me. There is Wildlife Day at Eulastack Natural Area in the spring. Santa Clara Arbor Day, that's District 3 in April. Morgan Hill Earth Day celebration in District 1. There's Pollinator Week at Marshall Cottle Park in District 5. And then there's the National Night Out, which is happening in all districts in August of 2023. So lots of opportunities to get involved. And we would love to hear what community events you are all excited about and that you know are going on in your communities. So to assist with these efforts, we will have toolkits available for our stakeholders, staff, board, you, our CAC, partner agencies, as well as the press. And of course, you can expect to receive regular communications from me regarding announcements and different things that you can share out. So keep checking your emails. I'll have plenty to share with you on a monthly basis. So here are some milestone events coming up in the next year that we hope you will join us in attending. In April, there will be an Earth Day event celebration that ties into our 30th anniversary, but it's also an opportunity for folks to get involved with the Coyote Valley Conservation Area's master plan community engagement efforts. Save the date invitations will be going out before the end of the year for a special 30th anniversary celebration event in May. So those invitations will be sent out soon. So just keep an eye out for more information on that, how to RSVP and timing. Feel free to put that on your calendars in the meantime, May 6th. And finally, a very exciting milestone that Mark mentioned earlier, which is the official ribbon cutting for Mayan Oyakma Coyote Ridge Open Space Preserve, which we anticipate will be sometime in the fall. So I've mentioned a few of these things, but I'll say them again. There's a lot of different ways to get involved in the 30th anniversary, and there's lots of easy things that people can do to support and celebrate. So again, please keep an eye out for a digital 30th anniversary toolkit that I'll be sending out in January of next year. Keep an eye out for those emails from me that'll have lots of different links that we'd love for you to help amplify. We would love for your help in growing our monthly newsletter following over the next year so we can continue reaching new people and spreading the word about current and future initiatives and opportunities for engagement. Same thing for social media. We always love when folks are sharing out to their friends, tagging, and just recommending our pages. Excuse me. If you or people you know aren't already on the Coyote Valley Conservation Area's master plan interest list, that's also a really great way to stay in the loop on upcoming community engagement opportunities that your communities would want to get engaged in. And speaking of communities, again, lots and lots of opportunities to get out there and interact with constituents. The volunteer and education team have a whole list of dates coming up for 2023. And again, we would love your help in getting people really excited about visiting and protecting open spaces and the many benefits that they provide for everyone. And in terms of just reporting back, you can expect to see a summary of how things went in 2023. We'll have our year in review. We'll also have our annual update to the CAC that talks about all the different promotions and campaigns and how they went. And if there are specific things that you would like to learn more about or hear us report back on, love to hear about those as well, so we can keep those in mind. So on that note, I think I'll go ahead and stop here and see if anyone has questions, feedback, specific opportunities and events that you'd like to let us know about for our 30th anniversary year. So thank you.
I will ask the first question. I see Justin regarding events that, you know, that the Open Space Authority might be represented at or might be interested in. How does this committee get those suggestions to you best? Is it email, directly email through, our the name is escaping me, but our clerk, the clerk email through the clerk directly, how best to get those to you?
Do you have a preference or is it?
I'm happy, to be the point person if you wanted, shoot me an email.
Okay, great. So CAC members, if you have events and you're interested in partnering or you think that the Open Space Authority should partner, please email Caroline through as the clerk. And so Justin.
The May 6th event, where is that going to be at?
We
know yet.
That will all be included in the RSVP stuff that we'll be sending out in the invites. So coming very soon, but locally.
Thanks, Justin. Ray.
I saw educational program. And you mentioned various things in various districts. Are you working with the entirety of the school districts or just select districts? And so why are we not working with all of them?
Through the chair, I am happy to inquire what those lists entail. I need to double check with our education team on specific school programs, but I'm happy to report back on that.
I'm wondering the infrastructure and is any of that being designed by local people? Maybe the process with it.
Through the chair, those most of the items are being designed in-house.
It seems like a wonderful opportunity to artists. How much is the budget for that there? Approximate budget?
Through the chair, are you referring to the whole 30th anniversary? And that is all included in our current approved work plan and budget. I believe we allocated, and we may need to double check this, 55,000 total for the 30th for this fiscal year.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Charlotte. Mary?
Yes, Charlotte, so in hearing the budget for the outreach, just want to make sure that you are going to be doing outreach in the 4 major languages of Santa Clara County. I think that would be beneficial, and I think it would be fine with your current, signage like we're doing in the parks as well too. So that's my first comment. Second comment is I want to thank everyone, Mark and the other VIOs for meeting with me last week to talk about ways to be involved as a CAC member. And so I just wanted to share with my fellow members here what we discussed was I am hiking with a group called No Worries Amigo Hiking Group. They're here in Santa Clara County. They're a mental health, getting people out into the hills, out in nature, and just discovering what's in your backyard. And so that's one thing that we'll be working on for the 23 season is getting their group out in our trails. That's one thing. I also have had the pleasure of working with a photography group called SJ Shooter. They are a local photography group out of the east side of San Jose. Their job is, their goal is to get people out of the east side and to explore other parts of Santa Clara County and other areas as well too. So working with them to kind of bring them out to our parks. And so my vision would be to have the hikers and the photographers all together that would then kind of feed into some social media posting and talking back what the Space Authority can do. And so that's just kind of me kind of trying to use my influence here my authority here on the advisory committee to just use bringing my communities together. And I just want to ask all of you to do the same. I already heard you say that, Lauren, but if there's a way to bring all of our communities together for these events, I think it could be very powerful. So that is my 2-minute speech. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mira, and I want to remind all of you that it's an agenda, it's a standing agenda item at the end of these meetings, to do committee member reports. And you're always encouraged to, well, that was specific to this topic, but if you have stuff like this and we're not talking about it in this context, I encourage you to bring those things up to our attention, just like that, and use the time that's set aside to do so. Again, this was perfect. Charlotte,
Through the
please.
chair, I just wanted to respond really quickly. Thank you so much for those comments. And I did want to respond to the first thing that you said about in-language promotions. Yes, we do plan to provide translated content, and we're also very open to suggestions on different community groups and places where those messages might be the most effective. So thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you so much, Charlotte. Kathy.
I have excuse me, some questions about social media, because I'm trying to understand it a bit more, because as everybody knows, Facebook is now for people who are old. And as we look at growing the audience for the open space for the authority, and that seems to be like standing on the quicksand, right? What's new and efficient today is not necessarily what's going to be working 3 days from now. How are you managing all of that? Because I don't get it.
Yeah, through the chair, we do have an amazing community engagement coordinator who manages our social media, and she is constantly looking at trends. She's currently doing an audit of our social media accounts, pulling together demographics, statistics on reach, and we are looking at which platforms we're currently using, what other platforms are out there, and we are continuing to learn about those shifts, because as you just said, yes, the platforms are changing, their algorithms are changing, and we do plan to really look at that closely and make adjustments as needed.
Especially as I think about moving and Thank you. Thank you for saying.
Yeah, through the chair, thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Just, certainly, one thing, Kathy, you mentioned a couple of questions that you're done. Cool. Ray, by all means.
I do want to offer,
Hot mic, please.
I do want to also make sure that we bring up the fact that we do have an older population here that doesn't do any social media. So for instance, I have a friend that recently ran for school board, and he is of the Vietnamese community. His parents only listen to the radio. And just over clear on his experience, it is a very far right-wing radio station that is reaching out to that group. It's not one that you would normally approach, but it might be worth checking in with some of the local leaders, like the Vietnamese American Roundtable, for that people. There's not VAR, there's also the new Vietnamese Center, community center. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Frank. Mike, thank you. Any other questions? Yeah, please, by all means.
So I do follow Open Space Authority on several social media platforms. I like to think I'm like a millennial, but I know I'm not. But I just want to say that I do appreciate what you're doing on Instagram and Facebook in terms of the photos and the reels and the more kind of visual storytelling that you're looking for. I think words are so photos are impactful, less words, more photos. Are kind of gotten that algorithm down, at least on the Instagram algorithm. I know Facebook people kind of read through the post a bit more. So I think that I just want to give a kudos and a shout out to your social media marketing people that are kind of understanding the trends and who their target audiences are in this different video.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mara. And I too am a fan, at least on Instagram. So I think y'all have figured out who I am on there. So Charlotte, any last words regarding your presentation or any of the questions?
I just really like to thank everybody for this opportunity. I'm really excited about our 30th anniversary. I can't wait to start celebrating. And so it's great to be here. It's great to see all of you in person. And thank you for your time. And please stay in touch.
Before you go, we do have a set aside time for public this item. If there is some, each person will be given 3 minutes. Caroline, do we have any online? Anybody here in the room? Any additional staff comment? Charlotte, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And for those of you following by on your agenda, we will defer until January the upcoming item from Mark, which was an information only item on legislative update and discussion. So from there, we will move on to informational reports. First on that roster is the board liaison.
There was discussion on that. Tabling that. Thing. We had an election, and many of the people that we've been working with had some changes, including the redistricting. There are some of the leading offices. I think it might be useful to know what has been done in this last year, so that when those people who are leading offices, we have the opportunity to mention that or to discuss that. But if the report is already done and it has that sort of information, that may be useful for those of us who follow them to repost. We supposed to have definitely posted. So I don't have a problem putting it out so that you can get the link. If the information is important this particular month, because as of December the 1st, we start putting all those new
Through the chair, as far as I know, there's no information in this legislative update that has to do with redistricting. But we'd be happy when we come back together again in January to give you just an overview of the redistricting process that the Open Space Authority went through and some of the changes to the geographies of our board districts. That might be very interesting to CAC. I just want to make sure you didn't feel like you were missing out.
Just an example, Little Lothbrun is now South County and she's never been. She's actually covering their whole area.
Steve just pointed out that in this very same agenda is a summary of what Mark was going to cover today. Do we have a board?
Mr. Chair, just one more thing to raise comment. When we come back together in January, let's agendize this. So we'll talk to the CAC about the OSA redistricting process went through, and we'll also talk about elected officials at the state and federal level and how they interact with OSA and any shifts to those boundaries.
You have that corrected.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Lee, I do think it's still Steve and me that you'll be working with on the January agenda. So certainly keep an eye out for those things. On that note, I do want to remind the committee that we serve the board, we serve and advise the board. So it's important that we keep that in mind if we're tempted to assign tasks to staff that are items of interest to us. However, with that said, we are we're here to serve our communities. So that does imply a two-way street. So if you feel strongly about seeing items on the agenda, please do let that be known. Do we have a board liaison report? Cool. Please take the podium.
Thank you, Chair. It's on. Nope. There we go. Thank you, Chair. It's nice to see all of you in person. Hi, Dan. Hi, Edward. Nice to meet you. We just appointed him a few weeks ago, so it's like, yay. I don't have too much of a report, but it just really I wanted to be here just to to greet all of you and so you could see me in person and see what I look like rather than my face on Zoom. I did share that we took a group from the Silicon Valley Leadership Group out on tour for Coyote Valley, which went very well. So we are starting to make those connections. The board is also very excited about the 30th anniversary. Charlotte knows that one. I want to see the preview too. And extend my appreciation to Mr. Meek for coming to the District 2 Fall Festival, for sharing OSA's good work. So there's a lot of upcoming fun ahead, and I think we're looking forward to the groundbreaking, the ribbon cutting, and all the activities. I did wanted to point out, I thought it was a very good comment, Ray, when you talked about involving students into the 30th anniversary. If there's a way that we can do that in, maybe a special event that brings kids out there, gets them to take some pictures, post online, maybe a photo contest, or I thought that was a really excellent thought, because I think, that is try to get the youth out there and exposed to nature early, I think is very, very important. We all love it, but we need to get them to love and appreciate it. So anyway, unless you have any questions for me. No? Good. I like that. Yep. What? Hi, Bob.
Go ahead. Hi, kiddo. Since you're so tied to the council, Ray's discussion about the east side. Are they going to vote on that soon? And I understand that they are going to vote on it soon.
You're talking about Pleasant Hills Golf Course?
Right.
That will be tomorrow.
That's what I thought. So you have to write your love letters now.
Mhm.
Second thing is the power plant, nasty word down in Coyote Valley.
That's a very good question.
So we can lean on it.
And it's another way to stress the good work of Charlotte, because there was a spotlight article that came out on that very subject, I would say about 3 days ago, somewhere around that. So it might be something that the CAC members might want to read, because it talks about renewed interest from property owners, specifically one property in question that was subject of debate last year, if you recall, that didn't go anywhere, and they are renewing discussions on battery storage out there, and they're having discussions with the CPUC. Am I correct? With my recollection? California Energy Commission. Thank you. Then defer to the general manager if there's any more details you want to share about that, because that is something that we should be looking at. But that's a great question. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob. Any other questions?
Through the chair, Mark has his hand up.
Mark Landgraf?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Hopefully my audio is better.
Yes.
Terrific. We made some adjustments. Thanks so much, Caroline, for helping me with all that. So I just wanted to respond to the really good question about the Green Energy Park proposal in Coyote Valley too, just to say that there is state legislation that was passed that streamlines types of projects that they're proposing for that site in Coyote Valley. And we're working closely with our consultants in Sacramento to understand what that legislation does and how we might still work to protect the conservation resources that has been the vision for the city of San Jose in that area, as well as ours, of course, so that we can, have alternative energy projects come to be where they are best suited and still protect the natural resources that are so important to all of us. Thank you.
I did want to add that, and I think somebody else mentioned about the current elections, that we did elect a new assembly member, Gail Pelleron. So it might be of interest that the CAC may want to, introduce themselves, or you may want, to invite her to an event because she now represents that area. So, and that's probably very important to get the eyes and ears of the legislature, especially, when we have state issues coming ahead.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, one more. Steve, go ahead.
Just a comment, earlier we talked about engaging students in, and wouldn't it be great to ask teachers to add it to the things that they do every day, every night, and over the weekends? What I've learned over time is we don't invite them to an event to have more time for the teachers to have to corral them. We offer STEM education things that they can check off on their list by participating in an event that the OSA is hosting. That's what we need to be thinking about. What are we giving teachers to help them check off their STEM items? That's it.
Thank you.
Okay, next. Please.
As an educator, I would say if Open Space Authority could put together like simple lesson plans, like a monthly lesson plan, like what's the theme of the month that, and send those out to educators. It's really easy if you align them to California State Science Standards. You can align them to Common Core Language Arts Standards. You can align them to Common Core Math Standards. If you have something that's aligned to Common Core that is environmental education, it's already given to the teachers and educators, and there maybe there's stickers or something like that that comes in it as an incentive, the teachers will probably be more likely to do it. So I do agree with Steve. Thank you for that.
I think that is an excellent contribution. Thank you. Any staff comment on that item? Okay, then we will move on to the general manager or staff, or just general staff report. Andrea, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we probably have a couple items to report out from the leadership team. I'll start it off and then pass it on to Lee and then to Mark, if we can hear him. The first thing I wanted to pick up on what we were just talking about North Coyote Valley and energy, and just kind of connect a few dots for you. So what Director Chapman was talking about is there is one principal property left that is not conserved in North Coyote Valley at the intersection of Santa Teresa and Bailey. There's a pending lawsuit of those landowners against the city of San Jose. And they have also recently submitted an application, although what they're proposing isn't completely defined so that staff could understand what is proposed there. But the idea was that San Jose needs more energy, and that these particular landowners are willing and are registering their interest in taking advantage of state laws that would allow approval of energy facilities on private property without the approval of local government. And so that's what they are kind of wanting to look into. Interestingly enough, meanwhile, just a stone's throw from there along Monterey Road between Bailey and Metcalf, there's electricity transmission facility is being evaluated by the California Independent Systems Operator that runs the energy grid for California. And so they have a whole process they've gone through. In order to have enhanced electricity for San Jose, there needs to be a new substation built in the vicinity of the Metcalf energy facility, a new substation and battery storage. So they put out an RFP. They solicited bids from electricity developers who are international and national companies. There are five companies that are moving on in the evaluation, and CAISO, California Independent System Operator, will pick the winning bid by March 2023. So that means somewhere along the Monterey Road corridor, in close to North Coyote Valley, there will be something like a 4-acre substation and like a 1-acre battery storage. So what Open Space Authority, who's commented on this already to the California Independent System Operator, and will also with the PUC when it goes to them for environmental review, has said, we're confident that a location can be selected that is acceptable to the conservation community and to the city of San Jose. So the proposal that you were reading about in Spotlight and the Mercury News is not one of those locations. But that landowner is independently, pursuing their rights to propose energy facilities on their property. So we've been having a series of meetings with the city of San Jose, with the various departments, and we have a meeting coming up tomorrow to talk about how we can align electricity transmission expansion along the Monterey corridor with wildlife connectivity. Because when that electricity transmission goes in, they'll have to put a transmission cable underneath Monterey Road. So they'll tear up Monterey Road. They may even have to close it down for some amount of time. It's a perfect opportunity to reevaluate how there could be better wildlife crossing infrastructure put across Monterey Road that makes it safer for wildlife, safer for drivers. And so we want to have that conversation with Department of Transportation of the city and some of their other departments. So we're going to start that conversation tomorrow. Meanwhile, the Peninsula Open Space Trust has just put out an RFP and gotten about 17 respondents for a Monterey Road wildlife crossing feasibility study, which will take about 1.5 years from now. And when it's done, it will have selected specific locations for wildlife crossings, where they will be, how they should be built, how much they'll cost. And then the next step after that will be design and engineering and applying for money to get those built. So we're working closely with San Jose to make sure that as they move forward on all this electricity transmission stuff, and they do their own land use study of the Monterey corridor, as we do our Coyote Valley Conservation Areas Master Plan, all these things are happening almost, simultaneously in the same geography. Let's make sure that we're working together for the best outcomes for that landscape. And I think with that, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Andrea. I have a couple of short updates for you this evening. A couple of housekeeping items to start with. First off, this Friday is our holiday gathering. To totally change the note here. Hopefully you all received an invitation. If you didn't by chance, or if you haven't had a chance to RSVP, would like to come, catch me or shoot Caroline an email at email address, and we'd be happy to make sure there's a chair for you on Friday. We have a wicked gift exchange, and it's fun just to watch, even if you don't want to play. The other thing I want to let you know is the office will be closed to the public. Well, first off, the office will be closed December 26th and January 2nd for the holidays. And then we always close for the 1 week in between. The public folks are still working. We're still reachable, but we probably won't be in the office. Most folks will be remote. So I'll let you know that we are around, but maybe don't come to the front door a particular week. And then last but not least, I wanted to let you all know that at the October, I think, 13th board meeting, Garnetta Annable was appointed to fill the District 4 board seat vacated by retiring director Dorsey Moore. And that means her term will end at the end of 2024. And that means that her spot on the CAC, which is also a District 4 representative, not to confuse the matter, is now open, and we are actively recruiting. So, Ray, to your point earlier, we really hope that everyone will share this recruitment with your networks. It's hard to consider folks who don't apply, and folks don't apply if they don't know about an opening. So I'll follow up with Caroline and Sharon Hansel this evening to send around the links to our website, the application, and the language, so that you can share it with folks that we really appreciate that. And I think that's it.
We'll see if we can get Mark.
Yes, Mark, you still online?
Yeah, I sure am. You hear me okay?
Okay. Yeah, yes, sir. You're next up. If you want it.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you again, members of the CAC, for your patience with the technology issues, and apologies for not being down there. But I did want to give a few
No problem.
recent policy updates. One is that we have been working very closely with Santa Clara County Planning Department as they develop their housing element update to the general plan. This is in response to the state of California's regional housing needs assessment allocations. These are allocations of housing units around the state of California. And each city and county around the state gets a number of units that they have to accommodate within the next 8 years. And the County of Santa Clara has received a 1,300% increase in the allocation over the last round. And this is frustrating to those at the county, especially because they have been very good protectors of the natural resources in the county in the unincorporated areas, guiding all development into the urban areas and cities. But they're required by law to accommodate this housing allocation, and they want to do so responsibly because we all need to be working together to address the housing crisis. And so they've identified some areas within urban pockets that are already urbanized, but additionally, a couple of rural sites outside of the cities of Gilroy and Morgan Hill. Those rural sites, they're adjacent to existing development, but they're on farmland. And so we have been working with partners and including with the county planning staff to see if there are ways we can work out solutions so that those rural sites either don't need to be proposed in the first place so that we don't jeopardize farmland in the southern part of our county, or that at least they can be a site of last resort. And so we've been having discussions with those we know at the state of California, both within the Strategic Growth Council and within the Housing and Community Development Department, to alert them to the resource issues that we're concerned about in Santa Clara County, and then also to connect them directly to those at the County Planning Department. So conversations have been really successful so far. They are talking together about potential solutions, and we will be tracking the publication of the county's draft housing element that's supposed to come out in early January, and then be providing feedback both to the state of California at the Housing Community Development Department and to our county supervisors with our comments regarding the rural sites, if those are still in the proposal. So I wanted to let you know about all of that. Also, a couple of other policy items that we're involved in relate to revision of a grant program that's being run by the Association of Bay Area Governments and the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, which are a Bay Area regional government body that oversees the Priority Conservation Areas Grant Program. That is a complement to the transportation housing program that regional government is primarily responsible for, but so that it provides also for a balance through protection of important conservation areas. And we've received grants from that program in the past, and we are on the technical advisory committee as they revise that program so that we can help inform that revision based on our expertise. We're also serving on a technical advisory committee for a regional agricultural plan that includes, again, the entire Bay Area, and providing what we've been working on with our county partners and through our own farmland protection work to provide our expertise into that process. One more thing I wanted to mention was that with the hire of our new federal consultants in Washington, D.C., we are ramping up our engagement of federal elected officials that represent our area so that in the coming year, we can better pursue federal grant programs and other policies that are supportive of our work, similar to how we've been doing it over many years through our consultants in Sacramento for state priorities. So I'll talk a little bit more about both of those items in the legislative update now coming up in January. Thank you very much.
I do, as somebody that's on WebEx all day, I sympathize with your technical challenges, so no apology necessary. However, that was choppy enough such that I would ask if you could, I hate assigning you homework, but if you could edit your notes, spend 5 minutes on your notes such that you could edit them so that they could be digestible for public, so that they could be distributed to this committee because they were just hard enough to hear. If that's something you could do, we would appreciate it quite a bit if that's not too much to ask.
I'd be very happy to do that, Sheriff.
Awesome. And from there, I will move on to committee member reports. This is the time for you folks to bring anything to our attention that you think we should know about. Ray, into a hot mic, please.
Thank you for that advice, Tom. So I went to the superintendent of the Alamo School. One of my issues is that there is this big, beautiful green space, 3 houses from our home. And we had to drive like miles away to find a place for my son to go ball around in the evening because the schools were all locked down. I went to her specifically saying, we've got this grant program. And I thought that they should look into finding the money to pay for the insurance, because that's one of their big concerns, insurance and the maintenance. And that they should ask for a grant to help compensate so they could open those gates. What she informed me of was that she wanted to have a peace garden in the preschool that's about to become the Chavez School is about to be the preschool, which is locked down and no one in the public is into. I'm very concerned about that because a grant should be for the public, not just people with young children. Because the preschool, nobody wants to be on that. Any of us actually, we don't have children. The other point is that I'm going to, every time I have the opportunity, bring up the fact that our urban spaces are held by the schools primarily, and they're not sharing them. And I think that this body needs to find a way to start making that happen. My son would go down there and climb over the fence and run around on top of the building along with his friends until I found out. But the point being here is, if you don't go in and rent the space through their, I don't know what it's called, there's some online thing, you have to go and rent the space, that's hundreds of dollars just to have like a soccer game there. The community can't afford that on these sites. So, I think that that would be a good opportunity for the organization to consider figuring out a way to work with them. Because to find a smaller district like them and figure out something that'll work, and then look at the rest of the districts and spread it around. Thank you.
Ray, you make a really interesting point as of schools as occupying largely open spaces, and that out of some necessity are all caged up. That's an interesting perspective on that contextual reality we are facing. So thank you for that. I would like to give staff an opportunity to comment if they wish, while we invite any other committee reports. Any staff comment to Ray before we give Bob an opportunity to speak? Bob, go right ahead.
I'm trying to be the devil's advocate here. Helen and I both live near several schools, and they too are closed. And what I find out in trying to get them open myself is not everybody treats the grounds properly. They take their animals there and refuse to pick up the manure, et cetera, et cetera. So we're fighting a secondary problem that's difficult at best. I actually pick up bags and throw them at the people, which is probably against the law, that don't pick up their dog food, but that's okay. They gotta catch me first. Yeah.
Thanks, Bob. I certainly want to acknowledge that because, and I do think I said that these spaces are caged up out of necessity. But it does create a reality where the biggest lawn in the neighborhood is inaccessible to, the houses that border it. I get it, but it's a thing, right?
But that's directly what I'm saying. I'm saying that the maintenance staff needs money, maintenance staff donated to take care of that issue. And they need money for insurance because somebody's been tripping balls. So if this organization has millions of dollars, maybe we can again figure out a pilot program with one of the smaller districts that could then expand on. I'd be happy to introduce anybody here to the superintendent to use their thing.
That's right. I don't think we have any active subcommittees, which would make subcommittee reports pretty unlikely. So that is right now, that is a staff committee. It's not meeting as a CAC subcommittee.
We're on it.
When it was open CAC committee, yes, I was part of. When it was an open CAC committee, yes, I was part of that, but now that it's staffed, I just like to send my emails to Charlotte and her team with my great ideas.
And thanks for that. And of course, I'm still available when to reconvene. If then there is nothing further, I will remind you all that you got off relatively easy tonight. The grant cycle is upcoming. With the meeting will be 2 or 3 times this week. So get your extra rest tonight. And with that, I will adjourn the meeting at 8:43 p.m.